Bacon. I mean, bacon tastes so good. I'm sorry, but I'm sure this pig didn't want to live, but I just love bacon. I could never go vegan. Bacon just tastes so good. And the pleasure that I derive from bacon outweighs any moral value I would put on this pig's life. So that's just how I view it. Hey, what is up, guys? So today I'm going to be reposting a speech I did way back in the day in my public speaking class. Basically what happened was my professor said that at the end of the semester, we're gonna have to do a speech on something that we are very passionate about. So of course, when I heard this, I was like, oh, I'll definitely do it on veganism. Like, oh, this is a great opportunity to do like activism in the midst of my, like academic work. So let me do a speech on veganism. And then at the end of the semester, the professor said, oh, actually, the speech has to be something that you're against. So I had to make a persuasive speech for something that I was actually against. There's some sort of like logic of like, oh, if you can advocate for something that you're against, then you're a very good persuasive person or persuasive speaker. So that was the kind of the logic of why she ended up like switching her word and saying that, okay, actually you have to do a speech on something you're against. So in the moment I was kind of bummed out. I was like, damn, like I really wanted to do a speech for veganism. But now in hindsight, I realized that this was basically like my first parody. I didn't really realize it, but yeah, I was like, oh, why don't I just do a speech against veganism? Like, that'd be kind of funny. So the thing is though, that the speech was supposed to be persuasive. And as you all know, it's pretty hard to be persuasive when you're saying complete nonsense, because as we know, the anti-vegan and the non-vegan positions are pretty dumb. So I didn't spend much time on this speech. I really, I think it was like for 1 or 2 days prior, I prepped a little bit. I just thought of some of the basic arguments, like natural though, bacon though, whatever, and try to compile them into a speech. In the beginning, I was trying to be persuasive, and then towards the middle of writing, I was just like, all right, let's just like troll with this, like whatever. I already had like a decent grade in the class, so I figured like whatever. Oh, and if you're wondering why I'm still talking, it's because I'm trying to get this video to the 8-minute mark. So yeah, guys, this speech is pretty funny, and like I said, it was basically my first parody. So let me know what you think. And also, if you're wondering what this jacket is, I don't know if you can see it right now. If you can't see it clearly, I'll just post it like as a screenshot on the screen. So what it is a jacket I'm selling on Teespring that has like a human being about to be eaten alive, and he's saying like, oh, please don't eat me. And then the guy's like, oh, it's my personal choice though. So basically making fun of the whole like personal choice though nonsense argument against veganism. And yeah, I can't really attach my Teespring to my YouTube yet because I'm not at 10K subs. So at the moment I have to like manually like link it. One more disclaimer before we get into the video. My hair is a lot longer in this video. This is when I had my man bun, so I was like really vegan at the time. And I think it was a week after I made this speech that I actually cut my hair. All right, I will shut the f up now. Enjoy the video. This is a vegan activist. Vegan activists represent the vegan movement. And what the vegan movement essentially says is that it's wrong to use animals for food, clothing, experimentation, etc., when there's no genuine need to do so. So if you see here, according to Google Trends, in recent years, the topic of vegan has been on the rise, and in my opinion, this is not a good thing, particularly because I think that veganism is wrong, and that's what I'm going to be explaining to you all today. I'm going to be explaining why veganism is wrong, specifically because it doesn't take into account human evolution, human nutritional needs, human culture, and bacon. And after I go over these 4 points, I'm going to go over some rebuttals that vegans will give towards the points that I'm making, and why I don't think that those are good rebuttals. So, why should you listen to me? Well, I identify as an anti-vegan activist. I'm very familiar with vegan argumentation and what to say in response to their arguments. And that's what we're going to go over today. So, everybody in this room is a human being. So what I'm about to say applies to everybody in here, okay? So eating meat is natural. According to the data from the National Academy of Sciences, we know that our earliest human ancestors actually consumed meat, and that eating meat was necessary for our human evolution. So we actually wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for the consumption of meat. So vegans are essentially saying that something that is the reason we're here is morally wrong, and I think that's a bit absurd. And when you take these 2 pieces of data, you can realize that we've been eating meat for a very long time. So I just think that if eating meat was so wrong, we wouldn't be doing it for such a long period of time. If something is wrong, it usually stops happening at a certain point, and it hasn't. So I just think that the fact that it's been happening for a long period of time is evidence that it's not wrong. Now that we understand why the vegan perspective doesn't take into account human evolution, let's look into human nutrition. So we know that you actually need to eat animals to be healthy. When you try to enter a vegan diet, you risk having various nutritional deficiencies, some of which include protein, B12, iron, and calcium. So just to go over some of these symptoms, protein deficiency comes with muscle loss, fatigue, and depression. B12 deficiency comes with pale skin, shortness of breath, and nerve problems. And then iron deficiency comes with brittle nails, dizziness, cold hands, and feet. And calcium deficiency comes with muscle cramps, fainting, and heart failure. So now we're going to go on to human culture and why exactly the vegan perspective does not take it into account. So we know that in the United States we consume things like beef from cows, pork from pigs, dairy from dairy cows, and chicken from chickens. In China they eat dogs, and in South America, on occasion, horse meat. So as you can see here, cultures from around the world consume animal products, and the vegan perspective does not take this into account. I think it's important that we respect all cultures. So who are vegans to tell others that they can't consume what they want to consume? And there's other things too, like depending on the location, different cultures don't have access to proper vegetation in order to consume an abundance of plants. So are vegans going to call these people immoral for trying to just survive because they have to eat livestock? I think that's absurd. And vegans will often respond to this culture point saying, what about mock meats? There's like fake meats that are made from soy protein, pea protein. And the thing is that cultural culinary practices are held very dear to these people. If you give them a fake version of what they culturally practice, they're not going to see it as authentic and etc. So now on to the most important point in my opinion, bacon. So vegans will often show pictures of things like this and say, how could you pay for an animal to be killed 1/4 of its lifespan that had a will to live just for your taste pleasure? But I mean, I just respond to these kinds of criticisms with pictures of this, bacon. I mean, bacon tastes so good. I'm sorry, but I'm sure this pig didn't want to live, but I just love bacon. I could never go vegan. Bacon just tastes so good. And the pleasure that I derive from bacon outweighs any moral value I would put on this pig's life. So that's just how I view it. So now just some rebuttals that vegans will give towards the specific arguments I've made today. Appeal to nature. This is in response to my natural point saying that humans are meant to eat meat. They'll say just because something is natural, that doesn't mean that it's morally good. There's things that are natural that aren't good, like killing. And in response to that, I just say, I mean, nature is nature. You can't really do anything about it. It kind of just happens. Who are we to negatively judge nature? So I don't think this is a good point. I think if something is natural, it is therefore good. Appeal to tradition. This is in response to my point about how we've been doing it for such a long period of time. They would say just because we've been doing something for a long period of time doesn't mean that it's ethical. Like we've been doing things for long periods of time that aren't ethical, like killing once again. But once again, if we've been doing it for a long time, and it was wrong, why are we still doing it? You know, the thing is, if it's been happening for a long time, again, I just don't think that it would be wrong because we haven't stopped doing it. It's just basic logic to me. And appeal to culture, this is the thought that we can't say something is right solely because a specific culture does it. Like what if there was a culture that consumed human beings? I would say let them do it. I mean, like if it's part of their culture, we have to respect all cultures. I'm just being logically consistent in accepting human or cannibalism as a culture. So, and then appeal to pleasure. So this is in response to my bacon point saying, how could you justify suffering with the pleasure you gain from it? But again, I'm usually on point with this kind of logic, but when it comes to bacon, again, it just tastes so good. I think that the pleasure that I derive from eating bacon just outweighs the moral value of a pig's life. So that's why I don't think this is a good rebuttal. So in conclusion, I hope you guys understand why exactly veganism is not logical and sound and actually irrational. And today we went through the fact that it doesn't take into account human evolution, nutrition, culture, and bacon. So thank you very much, and here's my works cited. Alright guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. I have no idea if I'm breaking the 8-minute mark, so I'm just adding this for some more fluff. If you support my work and want to support me on Patreon, the link is in the description below. Thanks so much for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next video.
Dude, even vegans don't get your weird, stupid wannabe sense of irony here. Who's your audience? Nobody gets these dumb jokes. Dude, even vegans don't get your weird, stupid